I'm sitting here with my best friend Mata. I have two best friends. I have Bernice and I have Mata. I came to hang out with Mata to ask a couple of questions about life. All right, so as we all know, I cheated. So my question to her is, as someone who's been cheated on in a marriage, I want to get the other perspective and the other side. So, Mata, how do you feel being married, giving your all, and being cheated on?
I believe it's the ultimate betrayal, because you kind of like give everything to that person. You give your all. You give literally everything, and just to get questioned in that way, because even to at the point that even if you're sufficient for that person, you question every single being of yourself. That
10.
what was wrong? Was it this? Was it that? Was it that you were not given enough? Was it that you were not enough for them? But it is what it is.
But on the other side of it, how are you doing now?
I'm actually doing pretty well. Surprisingly, I thought I was not. Because you would think that in a just like in a household of two people, you'll be okay, but in a household it's just one being the person that suffice enough for the rent, the food, everything else, all the luxuries, everything literally. I'm actually doing pretty well.
I think from an outsider looking in, you've always had it together, and now you have it together even more. So, another thing I want to say, I have a question, okay? Because I think it's very important that I understand the other side, because lately I've been hearing that I don't understand the other side. That's my godson. So, another thing I have to ask you. This has been brought up to me in my current situation. So, do you think that if you cheat prior to a marriage, it's different than cheating on that person when you're married? Do you think that cheating when you're married changes it, or it makes it more of a problem than if you were just committed in a dated relationship where you're living together, you're supposed to be committed? Do you think it's different?
Actually, it's not. Is it? I believe from the moment that you commit to a person, it's a commitment. Mm-hmm. Either it doesn't change if you are just boyfriend and girlfriend, or you're husband and wife, or whatever it is. But it's the same commitment. If you want to be true to someone, it doesn't matter like if you're at the beginning or at the end. Because if you're at the beginning and you decide to be unfaithful, then what is your turn at the end?
Right.
If it's at the end, then what happened throughout the whole trail?
Right.
That made it to be unfaithful. So.
And I'm dealing with a lot of that because I'm being told that my wife's slip-ups in the beginning shouldn't really matter now because we're married, and I guess like that shouldn't count. But now that we're married and I slipped up for the first time, that's way more important than anything she could have done to me. So I wanted to get someone else's perspective, because I've been feeling like, even though you're my best friend, one thing I can say about you is that you'll be honest.
The truth.
Yes, you'll be honest.
when
I mess up, when you don't agree with me, when
you
don't agree, you're always honest with me. So I appreciate that. And for someone who's been through this already, and also you being divorced, you have a son to raise. Mm-hmm. And I know that you've been very encouraging to me when it comes to dealing with my son, and the fact of what I have to, like, what's down the road for me, because I don't understand what's going to be coming up. But as far as you dealing with, parenting him in two separate households, what's your take on that?
I mean, it's a very hard understanding of it, because he's at your household. It all depends whose household he's the most. Like my son, he's at mine, obviously. Out of the 30 days, he's probably 21, 24. in my household. And I'm very just easygoing. I don't try to be on everything that he washes, on everything like that. Like, I obviously see what he washes, but I'm not like, no, you can't wash it. No. His father is very protective of everything. So sometimes he goes, like, I don't want to go to my dad's house. He'll cry. I have to convince him. So it will take a lot of time, but I mean, it's something that I have to deal with. It's not about me being selfish, because some people see it that way, because yes, I decided to separate him and not have him under a whole household of just being two parents, growing him up, getting him through his life and all that stuff. Now being two different households, just one household having him under a certain type, and then a whole other household having him under this certain house. And it's hard, but it is what I have to do. And not only for my well-being, but for his. Because if he don't see a mom that is happy, what is he gonna see?
Right.
If sometimes I would say, okay, I'll be selfish, not selfish for me, but selfish for him, and be like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice my own life being, and say I'm gonna raise him in a household that has both parents, because that's what he deserves. That's what we are brought up to. But when I decided not to be like that certain way and said, you know what, he deserved to have a household of two happy parents, not just parents that live together, but parents that are happy, even if they're separated. And he is happy with his father, he is happy with his mom, even if we are separated now, he gets to see that. Sometimes not a lot of childs get to see that. And I think I told you that the other day, that I was like, at one point I was so subjected about what society has to tell me. Like, society has to tell me you should bring a kid with a household with both parents being raised together. But sometimes not two adults could be raised together, not even after being adults. And it brings down to your situation that you will even want to take your own life. But you will think that later on in life he will want to have both his parents alive than having only one parent. But having both parents, even if they're not together, but they're happy. So I guess I'm sure that at one point my son will be happy that he has both of his parents happy, even if it's not with each other. But
no, and that makes sense. I've always, honestly, because my mom and my dad got divorced when I was 3, and I always didn't want to go through that. But one thing I could say is that my mom divorcing my dad was one of the best things she did, because I couldn't see them together. Her being with my stepfather, who's my dad, who raised me, I couldn't imagine her in another life than what she has. And I think it was productive for us not to grow up seeing my biological father and my mother have problems. So, but the funny thing is, I always said I wasn't going to be one to stay for the kids, but it's so hard when you have a kid. Like, I never understood how hard it would be. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. And one last question I have for you. This is the last one. Then we could go hang out. This is the last one. You gave your husband, ex-husband, so many chances to get his stuff together. So many chances to stop cheating. So when you, not the, like, the second or third or fourth chance, whatever, but the first chance that you gave him and you really wanted to make it work, was it hard for you to move past the cheating? Was it hard for you to trust him again? And how did you convince yourself that you wanted to do it again?
When I first found out that he was cheating on me, actually, I remember like it was yesterday. I was probably I'm 32 years old now. I was 24, and I came to visit him because he was Dominican. Well, he is Dominican, and he lived in Dominican Republic. And I went to visit him, and I happened to just ask for his cell phone, and I saw it, and I saw a message, and I literally just went ballistic. And he literally saw the look in my face, so he knew what I was coming at. And he took the phone away from me, and everything went on from going to the car. I took my ring off, I threw it at him. And at that point, I told him, I was like, I don't want to do nothing with you. Like, why would I even why would I continue to have a relationship with you if you're not even respecting the time that I'm spending with you? And after a few moments and just arguing, literally just throwing different words at each other and all that stuff, I'm not even sure exactly if it was just the feelings that I had for him, or it was just the time that I had invested in him. Because a lot of the times that I found out that he was being unfaithful to me, I had questioned myself if it was just him being unfaithful, or if it was the time, if it was after a fact, a couple years after having a kid, should I continue? And at that point, the first time, I said, okay, you know, I invested all this time. I've been with him so many years and whatnot. Should I just continue with him and see what happens? Sometimes it wasn't just like he slept with the person, he was just talking to the person. And I literally thought, you know, he was only talking to the person.
But that's bad too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And talking to the person is as bad as sleeping with the person, because it's kind of almost the same commitment. Even if it's just like having intercourse with the person, because at some point you're having some type of connection with the person. So I gave him a shot. I probably shouldn't have, but I wouldn't have him.
Oh yeah. True.
But I gave him the shot for that time. But
Do you regret doing that?
if I would regret doing that, I would literally regret my son and every single step that has taken me to where I am today. So I don't, because like I always say, you live and you learn and you move on. You just don't make the same mistake again.
So do you think, in my opinion, I want to ask you, so if he would have not continued to do what he did, so you would have been willing to give him a shot? We were just discussing like the whole cheating aspect. You would have been willing to give him a shot if he was serious about it?
I honestly,
You were ready to forgive.
I forgave him for everything that he did, but I think it was down to the point. It was down to the breaking point. Like, I was just waiting for the last straw. It didn't matter what was gonna happen or not, because one day I opened my eyes and I said, I don't want to be with this person anymore. So eventually this was gonna come,
Right.
no matter what. If it was gonna be now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I think eventually I was not going to be with him, because at one point I just didn't love him anymore. And once you lose the love, there's no turning back.
I totally get that. So I want to thank you for giving me insight, because I think it's very important, because I think that there are still some people out there who think that I don't realize the impact that I had in cheating. I think they don't realize, but you hear me, you know how I feel. I go back and forth, and the pain that it's caused everyone, including me and my son. So I want to thank you for that. Before I go, I just want to say I got my certificate. I don't have it with me, but I did finish my program today. So as much as I loved going to program, and I'm very scared to be on my own, the things that were said today to me gave me some inspiration and a whole bunch of empowerment to go back to work on Monday. I still feel kind of anxious, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm ready to get back into my life. I missed my life for the last 6 weeks. My life's been on pause. So we'll just see what happens. But I like this. This was good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.